73% overlap. That is the figure recovered from the imaging data. 73% shared neural activation between the brain of a person being physically injured and the brain of a person being socially excluded. Not similar activity, overlapping activity. The same regions, lighting up in the same pattern in response to a slammed door as to a slammed fist. Before this, the assumption sitting quietly underneath decades of psychology was simple, and almost nobody questioned it. Social pain was considered a metaphor, a linguistic convenience. When someone said a breakup hurt, or that being excluded stung, researchers treated this as figurative language borrowed from the vocabulary of injury, the mind reaching for physical words because it lacked better ones. Nobody seriously entertained the idea that the borrowing went the other direction, that the brain wasn't borrowing a metaphor at all, that it was running the same program. So a team of researchers built something deceptively simple to test it. Not a hospital, not a battlefield, a ball-tossing game. Subjects were placed in a brain scanner and told they were playing a simple game of catch with 2 other participants online. The other 2 players were not real. They were controlled entirely by the researchers. For a while, the ball came to the subject normally. Then, without explanation, it stopped. The 2 other players continued tossing the ball back and forth to each other indefinitely while the subject sat inside the machine, forgotten, watching a game they were no longer part of. No insult was spoken. No confrontation occurred. Just silence, and a ball that stopped coming. The stakes of getting this wrong were larger than one study. An entire field had built its models on the premise that rejection was purely psychological, a subjective interpretation, not a physiological event. If that premise was false, it meant something with much larger implications, that the brain does not clearly separate the concept of injury from the concept of abandonment. What the scans showed was not subtle. The anterior cingulate cortex, the same region that activates when the body registers physical pain, the area responsible for the distress signal that makes an injury feel urgent rather than merely noticed, lit up during the exclusion. So did the anterior insula, a region tied to processing internal bodily states, the same one that fires when someone touches a hot surface. And the activation wasn't vague or general. Its intensity correlated directly in near-linear fashion with how much distress the subjects reported feeling afterward. The worse the exclusion felt subjectively, the stronger the signal in a brain region designed to respond to tissue damage. But that wasn't the detail that unsettled the researchers most. In a later replication, subjects were given a common over-the-counter pain reliever, the kind used for headaches, before being subjected to the same ball-tossing exclusion. Their self-reported hurt feelings measurably decreased. Not their mood in general, not their optimism. Their hurt feelings, specifically the felt intensity of being left out, reduced by a medication that has no known mechanism for treating emotion. It treats tissue, it treats inflammation, and it blunted heartbreak anyway. That single detail should sit with you longer than the original percentage. A pill designed for a twisted ankle can dull the pain of being excluded from a group chat. That is not a metaphor holding hands with biology. That is biology, full stop. Here is the machinery underneath it, stated plainly. For the overwhelming majority of human history, the species did not survive as isolated individuals. It survived in small, interdependent tribal units, 20, 40, maybe 150 people, rarely more. Outside that unit was not romantic wilderness. It was exposure, starvation, and predation. Expulsion from the group was not a social inconvenience. It was, with high probability, a death sentence, and it often arrived slowly enough that the person expelled had time to fully understand what was coming. Evolution does not build new departments when an old one will do the job. It is not an engineer optimizing for elegance. It is a tinkerer working with leftover parts under a brutal deadline, measured in generations. The physical pain system already existed. It was fast, unmistakable, and impossible to ignore. Exactly the qualities needed for a threat as lethal as social expulsion. So rather than construct a separate alarm system for social danger, the brain repurposed the one it already had. It wired the earliest warning signs of rejection: a cold glance, a raised eyebrow, silence where a response was expected, into the same circuitry used for the alarm of physical harm. This is the kind of hidden architecture this channel exists to expose. Subscribe if you want to keep noticing the machinery running underneath your own reactions before it runs you. The result is an alarm system inherited fully intact but never updated for the environment it now operates in. It cannot distinguish between a predator at the edge of camp and a friend who left you on red. It fires with the same voltage for both because as far as its ancient programming is concerned, both are the same category of event. Possible exile. Notice where it's already firing in you. Quietly. Constantly. Without commentary. The small physical flatness that appears in the chest when a text goes 2 hours without a reply. The specific disproportionate ache after discovering a decision was made in a group chat you were never added to. The odd sting of being unfollowed by someone whose opinion, by any rational measure, should not matter to you, and yet does immediately before you've even decided to care. The half-second flinch when a joke you made in a meeting is met with silence instead of laughter. None of these carry any real threat to your survival. Your brain does not know that. It is still running tribal software on modern hardware, and it cannot tell the difference between exclusion from a group chat and exclusion from the only source of food and safety you had 10,000 years ago. This circuitry is expensive, and the bill comes due in decisions, not feelings. People remain in friend groups that offer them nothing because leaving registers at the neural level as a small self-inflicted exile. People over-apologize for things requiring no apology, trading dignity for the momentary relief of the alarm going quiet. Conflict goes unspoken for years, not because the person lacks the words, but because confrontation risks activating the very system this circuitry was built to avoid at all costs. And anyone who understands this lever, a manipulative partner, an employer who implies your place on the team is conditional, a group that punishes disagreement with cold withdrawal, can pull it with precision because they are not manipulating your opinions. They are manipulating an alarm system installed before recorded history, one you did not choose and cannot switch off. Somewhere in the back of your mind right now, a quiet calculation is already running. Whether this video will land, whether anyone watching will agree, disagree, share it, ignore it entirely. The same ancient circuitry, the one built for tribal fires and the threat of exile, is quietly rehearsing your reception before a single comment has been posted, and it will keep running, unnoticed, exactly as it was built to.